G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke here, how you going? Today I'm going to be doing a massive video for you. It's going to be doing a huge video, it's going to be a long video. I'm going to just take you through the process of carving out a stump. Stumps can make probably one of the quickest way to make a bonsai, I would say. You know, like you can, this is 1 year from collection, this one. I got this out of an old olive grove, 50 plus years old. Dug it out, flat cut the bottom, cut all the roots off, and here it is a year later with a bit of growth on it. As I'll show you later, there's a couple of live veins in it, but most of the live veins that went to the top died, which is a bit of a pity, but we'll try and make something out of it. So when you work with a stump like this, a lot of how it turns out relies on a bit of carving. You know, you got to do a lot of carving, but the results can be quite good and quite quick. You know, like probably carve it out, grow some branches out a bit bigger, a bit fatter. You're probably looking at about 5 years, you know, after you refine some branches. 5 years and it'll look pretty good. And 10 years will be a really good bonsai, which is actually quite quick. You know, if you start one from seed, take you at least 10 years to get it half reasonable, and maybe 20 years to get a really nice one. So this sort of like halves, I guess, halves the process a bit. There's no such thing as an instant bonsai, you know. You've got to put in a bit of patience and a bit of work, but yeah, I'll get to it. I'll show you the tools I'm going to use. Going to be using a lot of tools. First one, probably get the old chainsaw out. I'll get that out, get rid of some of the big wood, because there's a lot of wood here. Then I'll just show you the rest of the tools here. So the rest of the tools, these are just the spanners for the Makita die grinder. I'll be using this one here, which is from Bonsai Sensation in Australia here. Quite cheap, you know, these tools are only $40 odd each, which is quite cheap compared to some, and they seem pretty good. There's another one. So this will take the big wood. This will take still a reasonable amount, but a bit more forgiving. This one here, this one can bite in and really take off. You've got to be careful. A couple of router bits which do come in handy. The old router bits. Another bigger router bit on here now, probably from last time. And I'll also be putting this little bit in the Ozito little grinder there, about the same size as a Dremel, but I did have an issue with this one in there before. It almost puts a bit too much strain on the Ozito, especially on where you tie it in here. It slips a bit, so I've got to be careful with that one. And I've also got a router bit for the Ozito. So I'll be using all of those bits today. And lastly, this little bit here. This little bit I'll be using to put in a little more detailed work, just to roughen the outside of the deadwood to make it look like it's pitted away over time. Yeah, so that's about that. Another thing I'd like to show you is where you do have, here you've got a live vein, here you've got a live vein, and what I've done is I've marked out where any deadwood is and the live veins, so that I don't, the last thing you want to do is cut through one of these live veins, because that branch is dead up here then. If you cut through one of them, so you've got to be really careful. I do have a bit of a challenge in here as well. I've got this live vein in here, and that live vein feeds the only bit of green at the top of the tree. And if I slip while I'm grinding in here, if if I'm grinding here on either side of this live vein, or from the back of the tree come in too far and wreck the live vein, that top will die and then I'll have to replant the whole tree, which will be a pity. I hope not to do it, but it is possible. Yeah, so I've got a few spots marked out like that, live veins and dead spots. This whole back of the tree is dead. The whole top of the tree here is dead from there up. So I'll just try and create an interesting deadwood feature out of that. Yeah, no worries. I'll get to it. Yeah, so like I say, this is going to be a big video. The first thing I want to do is probably get rid of the top of this container so that I can see what I'm doing and so you can see a bit better. So I'll cut the top of this container off. Oh, that's the top of the container gone. You'll be able to see the trunk a bit better. I'm not going to unbury this too much because the roots are only just down here and it was flat cut, so I don't want to go digging around too much. There's still fairly juvenile roots in there, no big fat ones yet. So yeah, now that I've done that, I've got to try and get the foliage out the way a bit. And I think the best way to do that is to put a rag on it, like that, and then pull it out the way, tie it down to the pot or something. Just carefully pull it out the way so that we can cut away. So I'll put some rags on it and get it all out the way for you. One thing I would like to say too is I wanted to clean up the shoots that I know I don't want, but the die grinder could go a bit crazy, cut some off that I do want to keep, and then I'll have to resort to some of the others. So I'm going to wait until after I've carved it before I select branches, just in case I cut some off that I wanted. Anyway, cheers. Okay, as you can see, I've got a rag holding these top branches out of the way, one holding this side and one holding most of them on that side. I'm going to leave most of them, like I said, for now in case I cut one. I've pretty much marked out where I want big bits of wood to go. Because this is fairly taperless here, I'm going to take a big section out here to hopefully create a bit of taper. I've got to be really careful not to get rid of this live vein which is here. It's very important that I don't cut that. Possible I will, you know, get a bit bloody carried away sometimes, but we'll try not to. So I'll cut that. I'll also spin it around and cut a fair section of this away. Here, maybe a hole in here with a chainsaw. And once I get rid of the bolt, then I'm going to get the die grinder out and cut with the die grinder. But yeah, just take it careful, take it easy. Even though chainsaw sounds drastic, you can take it pretty slow and steady with a chainsaw. You don't have to cut away massive chunks of wood flat out. Yeah, just be careful, you know. I've got the old safety boots on, the old Aussie thongs, the old guards and stuff on my arms. Got the old sunnies on the head, that'll help out. And yeah, we'll see how we go. I'll just take it easy. Okay, as you can see, we've already created a fair bit of a hole there. You can already put your fingers through here almost. Just got rid of a bit of the bulk there. I'll do a bit of carving on that with the die grinder now. Don't want to get too carried away with the chainsaw because you can take a bit too much off pretty quickly. But that saved a lot of time with the die grinder, so it is a good idea, I think. Anyway, now I'll get the die grinder out and do a bit of die grinding. Now you can probably see I've put the bit in for the die grinder. It's ready to go. Got to be extremely careful with this one because it really does buck around. Can really cause a bit of trouble pretty quickly. So you got to brace your hand pretty firmly somewhere, and then just take bits away. If you get carried away and it gets stuck somewhere, it can really just shoot off flat out, cut straight through something that you wanted to keep. Just got to be so careful. Got another wire here and another branch in the way here, so I'm just going to wire that one out the way too. Don't want to cut that off. Just put a hole in the side of that bucket here so that I can put the wire through. Get it out the way. Yeah, you just got to try and take it careful. Pretty hard to do, get a bit carried away. Got to be very careful, that branch is really in the way there. Just move it again. Might do this side of the trunk first and then get to the other side after. Okay, I've got some of the major bulk out the way now, or starting to. So what I'm going to do now is put on a router bit, put on that router bit, and start digging in some of these little crevices where the other bit's just too big. It just doesn't get in there. You can't push it in. It's too tight. So, and you can't cut in there. Plus you've got to be careful for that. So I'm going to put on the little router bit and start digging in a bit deeper in a few spots and try and create a bit more interest. I'll probably put this bit back on when I do the top later, but I'll just concentrate on the bottom first, get the bottom done. I think that'll be easier. So yeah, I'll put this on and do a bit of work with that. As you can see, it takes it away pretty quickly still, so there's no dramas there. Let's do this a little bit here. Well, g'day. Got a bit of dust everywhere, a bit of dust at the eyes, but getting there. I've hollowed the trunk out mainly. This bit can't quite get in there, so when I use the small bit on the Ozito, I'll use that, but to get in there and hollow right through the trunk, so it's hollow in there. I've managed to not hit the live vein yet. Touch wood, I don't. Yeah, I'll give you a bit of a spin of what I've done so far. Managed to not do any damage really. So I've pretty much got the bottom sorted out apart from the detailed work. The only thing I want to do now is work at the top. I think a good portion of it's going to go, but I've got to work out what's going to go. I mean, first you've got to, I guess, pick the front of the tree. And we've got a small issue too, that I reckon the best view of the tree has a bit of deadwood here which goes in and it'll die off eventually anyway, and then that'll rot away and it'll look like reverse taper. So I wonder whether we spin it a little bit more that way, so you got live wood on both sides, so it shouldn't get any thinner. And if we did that, I was thinking you want a bit of taper to keep going. Obviously you want to keep the live vein going up to here, so that will happen. And then I'm not sure where I continue after that. I was thinking that I carve around there to thin that out a bit, come around here, create a bit of a jagged top here, maybe even keep an old live vein up here, hollow this out, create a bit of interest, maybe finish it up the top up here somewhere with a few jaggedy bits to make it look interesting. And that way, if I was to cut this side off, you can see how that straightens up the tree, which is not a good thing. But if I cut this side off, see how it creates a bit more movement, a bit more shape to it. So you always got to be wary that when you're working on it, you want to create shape and interest. You got to think about everything you do. Cover it up with your hand or a towel or something. See the big difference? Straight up or a bit of shape. So I'll finish it up here somewhere, take most of this bulk out, get these branches out the way, and I'll do most of that with the router bit. I may get the chainsaw, I'm not sure. I really don't want to wreck these branches, so maybe the chainsaw is not a good idea, but maybe it is. And in the back, I'll probably keep a little bit of wood in the back on this side as well, and then just hollow out in the middle just to give you a bit of depth to the deadwood rather than just a two-dimensional look. Yeah, so it's coming along, still a long way to go. It's been a couple of hours already. Certainly don't rush this, it takes a long time. You can't just do deadwood in half an hour and you're done. It's a whole day job, maybe two. And even when I've done all that, then I've got to paint it, which I'll show you later. Yep, she's a long video, this one, but I hope it's worth watching. Alright, I'll get to carving out the top bit for you. Keeping that. Well, it's got rid of a fair bit of the wood pretty quickly. I thought that'd be the easy way to do it. I'll just give you a bit of a close-up of how much it took off. It's all hollow in there now. Before it was just pure wood. Just got to be very careful with a chainsaw, but I don't know, you see those wood carvers, they seem to do a fairly detailed job with the chainsaw, so must be possible. Just a bit of practice. So I'll get in there with the other tools now and hollow it out a bit, see how I go. Okay, I've sorted out the top, got that sorted out. I don't really mark too much out apart from where the live veins are, because if I try, I think I just sit there all day looking at it and can't work it out. I sort of go a bit freehand, which can be good, can be bad. I just sort of start carving around the place and sort of honeycomb it out a bit, and I guess hope for the best, but try to make it look natural. But yeah, it's hard to say. If I sit there and mark it out, I just can't do it. So I just get in there and do it. Yeah, you can see the top's all hollowed out now. I've hollowed out around the back. So far, I've been lucky enough not to hit the main leader. I've still got a tunnel through the middle of this trunk down the bottom. It's almost through But I've got the bit on the mini die grinder, or the Zito hobby tool. I've got the mini bit on that, so I'm going to dig through with that. Another thing I'd like to show you is, you can see here I've left a fair chunk of wood. I'm going to go in a bit closer than that, but I'm going to be careful, because behind this live vein you've got the xylon layer that goes up to feed, like that, puts water up to the leaves. So I just don't want to take too big a risk, basically. So I've been staying away from that area a little bit. I'll get in there and get rid of a little bit of this chunky stuff here. Yeah, and then just tunnel through here. So I'll get to that and see what happens, eh? Okay, well, I've bored a hole right through the middle. Probably hard to tell from there, but it goes right through. I've done all the carving I'm going to do, I think. I'm pretty happy with that. Now all I'm going to do is change over to this bit that I showed you earlier. I'm going to try that out. I normally don't do this. Normally I just skip this part and let nature take its course and rot the wood out a little bit so that it looks natural, but I'm hoping I can make it look a little bit more natural quicker using this bit here. So I'll put this in the Zito. I must say, you know, I use nearly all router bits which you can get from your local department store, Bunnings or something. Nearly all of my work's done with just router bits for a router. They work really well. They bounce around a bit if you're not careful, but if you're careful you can get the work done. Yeah, so I haven't done this before, this marking that I'm going to do now, so I guess we can learn together, but my idea was just to put a few lines, a few marks in the wood. To hopefully make it look a bit natural, maybe like some termites have mined their way through. Okay, so I've done that bit. I'll just give you a close-up, see whether it's worth doing or not. So you got, that's a normal bit that I've ground down and haven't done much with yet, these bits. And this is a bit where I put some marks in to hopefully make it look a bit more natural. I think it does, so I think I'm going to go across the whole tree and do that now. That'll be the next job. No worries. got the detail work done to a certain extent. I think it has improved a fair bit, made the wood look a bit more natural, a bit older, a bit more aged. So the next thing to do is clean out all the bits of wood everywhere and all the dust. I've got an air compressor, but it's at my other house, so that won't help. So I might get the garden hose. I'm going to flush it all out, wash it all down, let it dry, and then I'm going to put some stain on it to make it look more natural. Oh, bit of wood up my nose. Yeah, I'll put a bit of this stain on it. It's charcoal, water based, so I've used it before. It didn't do any damage to the tree that I used it on, so it should be fine. Yeah, so I'll go and hose it off, I reckon. Just show you, just spin it up at the moment, how it's looking now. I'll just show you a close up of the more detailed work from that little bit. Got in there, it just made some little grooves around the place. Hopefully, you know, made it look a bit more natural. See what happens. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, well, I'll have to try harder next time. So I'll get to washing it. Okay, well, I've got this all washed out, all the bark washed out, sawdust, and now it's dried, so now I've got to put on my charcoal. So I've got my charcoal stain here. It goes on a bit, looks a bit full on when you paint it, but it does dry out after a while and blend in a bit better. So I'm just going to simply go on all the dead wood work here, paint this charcoal colour. It goes on, it almost looks a bit blue when you first put it on. Yeah, so I'll go and paint all that. Like I said, it's water based, so I've used it before and there was no harm to the tree at all, so I'm pretty sure it's safe. So I'll paint all the dead wood so it looks a bit darker, a bit more natural. I don't think it's a good idea to use lime sulphur on olive trees, because then you end up with white wood, which is certainly not the natural colour of their dead wood. So I'm going to make it darker, which I think is a better way to go. Yeah, so I'll get to painting that over the whole tree. Okay, welcome back. At the moment, I've done all the carving, treated the deadwood with a bit of stain. Maybe in a couple of weeks I might put some wood hardener on there, some L's wood hardener maybe. Maybe I'll let it decay a bit first, maybe do it in a year. I'll put some wood hardener. The only thing left to do now is to give it a bit of a style. I'll cut some branches off. There's a lot of areas like this here, and olives do this a lot. When you collect an olive and they start reshooting, they normally shoot 6 or 8 branches from one location, and then you've got to pick the strongest one or the one with the best character and cut the rest off. So although it looks like there's a lot of branches on here, there's probably only about 5, maybe 6 spots where it comes out. The only thing I'm going to say is I probably not going to cut any of these top ones off, because at the moment the more green you got on there, the more traffic or the more flow that's going to go through that live vein, which will help keep the live vein flowing freely, keep it open. So I'll probably keep that one with all 4 for now, until I know for sure that it's all going to be okay. There's a little skinny one at the back here which I will keep, and I'll let it grow out. And another thing too is when there'll be no secondary branching at all, it's just going to be one main big branch going out. And I'm probably not even going to cut that today, because although that's getting thicker, nearly as thick as my little finger, compared to the fatness of this trunk, it's still very thin. So I'm going to guide wire it probably down, so it comes up first and then goes out. And I'll guide wire it down there and just let that grow, hell, maybe even 3 meters long, 4 meters long. And I'll do the same on all the lower branches. The top branches I'll cut back earlier than that, because you don't want them getting fatter than the bottom branches, but the bottom branches are going to be allowed to thicken up dramatically. And when you cut it back to only one, hopefully it will get thicker a lot quicker too. So on this one, I'm happy with this branch here. I'll just check that I got the front of the tree for you. Yeah, look, that's not bad. There's the front of the tree. Remember I said about this dead wood here, which will rot away and will create inverse taper here, so I wanted to spin it a bit so you got the live bit of wood there. So that's going to be around about the front of the tree there. So I'll style it from there. So first thing is a guide wire. Normally a guide wire, if I'm keeping that whole branch, I'll put on a bit of plastic tube so it doesn't mark it, but because this one will get cut back probably to here somewhere, a wire mark out here is not really going to matter. And if it bites in too much, I can change its location as it grows a bit, or loosen it off. So for now I think that's good. Don't cut your wire with your branch cutters, that's what they say. Sometimes laziness is more of a priority. So I'm just going to, that way, see that branch comes up, goes out. Then when I cut it back to here, I might let it come up and out again. I'm not going to style it like a pine where you have the branches coming straight down really hard. I'm just going to style it like that. So that's that branch done. Pretty simple. Now I'll get in here, because that didn't break and that survived the whole carving process. It hasn't broken, so I'm now going to cut away carefully the rest of them. I'll leave a little bit of a stub on all of these branches so that if for any reason the main branch dies back or something happens, it'll reshoot on all these stubs here that I've left. So you can see that one, that's done. Generally you won't have a back branch that starts lower than the side branches, but on this occasion not much else there, it's all dead. So you could use this one here, and this one probably will be a back branch, but I don't mind bending the rules a bit. Doesn't all have to be spot on, does it? Right, so I'll probably let it go up. There's almost no reason, actually there's no reason for a guide wire on this one. Just going to let this one fatten up. It's already going up. When it gets fatter, then I'll bend it down and keep an eye on it, because if you let them get too fat, they do become quite hard to bend. Right, so that's that one. That's a back branch. Only thing is, they do take up a lot of room when you got them bent like that. You can bend, you can put some wire on and bend that up in the air so it takes up less room. I might do that later. Okay, some more branches in here. You basically choose the fattest one or the most interesting one and cut the rest off. You've got two here that you could use. I'll cut a couple of the smaller ones off first. Okay, one's a bit low. Alright, so now I'm left with this one, which actually goes quite an interesting branch. I don't know whether it'll survive, but it's quite interesting. It does a bit of turning around, so I'm going to wire that one down. And if that's the case, I probably won't need this one at the front. So chop her off. It's done. Get some more wire. And now I'll wire that down. Be extremely careful because it changes direction a lot, probably because it's had cut branches or a bit of dye back here and there. Could be a little bit fragile. So I'll maybe wire it to here. So I'll get my die grinder out. I could put it forward, but that's probably too far forward, so I'll go back a bit with it. There's not a hole there, so I'm going to get die grinder out and make a hole. Okay. Got the hole there now. And just carefully bend it down. If a branch won't go the whole way that you want it to, you can just pull it down as much as you think's comfortable for the branch. You really don't want to smash them, snap them I mean. So you go what you think's comfortable for the branch, which I think's maybe there. And if you're not happy with how far you've bent it down, you can then later... Yes, bud? No, that's going to let it grow, bud, because that's got to get fatter here. So that's got to grow really long.
Oh yeah, but wait. When this bit gets fatter
when that gets fat here, then we can cut it, okay?
Oh. Then do you cut it there?
Oh yeah, or maybe back here.
No, don't cut it here. When we cut it back.
Don't use your favourite brush when you're brushing in all the dead wood there, because it pretty much canes your brush. It's wrecked it, hasn't it, bud? Mm. There's no point keeping this one behind because it's just going to get hidden and it's almost in the same spot as the front one. So that one comes off too. Once again, I'll leave a little bit of a stub in case something dies, because hopefully then it'll allow it to shoot out some new shoots, so that I got a backup, you know what I mean. Hopefully nothing like that happens, but you never know. Now there's another branch here or here. There's also a big one at the back here. A lot of decisions. thing is, if I keep one of these, then this one here at the back gets covered up. And the one at the back's reasonably interesting. I'll cut one off. And I'll keep the other one just for the time being. See what happens. See that little one? I'll keep it for the time being. This one here is already, by the looks, divided into two. I don't think it's going to bend all in one go, so that's okay. You just come back in a week, give it a bit more, come back another week later, give it a bit more, and eventually it'll get to where you want it. So be patient. I mean, you think you keep these trees for 20, 30 years, what's a couple of weeks to bend a branch? Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure how much I can put on that little bit. It might snap. I just got it on a bit of a stub that I've cut off, a weak stub, just to give it a slight bend there. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so that's giving it a little bit of a bend there, but I'm going to increase that bend over the next few weeks. Okay, now I'm going to guide wire each of these individually down. And that may be enough there anyway, because this branch bends down pretty easily. Then I'm going to do the next one. Give that a bit of a bend. Cut off this tiny branch back here. And put some wire on this one. Okay, for now that will do. Just give it a bit more on this one. And I really don't want to overdo it. I'm going to stop there before I break something. Okay, so then you come back to the camera. Have a bit of a look here. Not looking too bad. Only thing is keeping this one at the front just becomes a few too many branches. I think we'd get rid of that one. Sorry to say. As long as it's not helping feed this live vein here or back here. I don't think it is. I think it should be right to get rid of. Alright, so that opens it up a bit. And now you just left these branches here. Pretty same thing, you got about 5 branches, one location, coming from one spot. It has helped thicken that up down there, but now we need the actual branch to thicken up, not just the stub. Right. As I said, you're down to 1, 2, 3. This will become 1 in the end, or maybe 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the one at the back. Right, so I will now guide wire that one down. Do it out a bit further than I'm going to cut it, so if it marks the branch, it doesn't matter. And so now I'll cut the wire again with me wire cutters, and the This one's probably going to go, we've got enough coming at the front. We want this one to go back. So I'll go to the back of the tree. And there's no hole, so I'll get me die grinder and cut a hole. The old router bit. Now I got somewhere to tie it to. Now I just pull that back very carefully. See what I mean about taking up a lot of room? It's hitting the roof, hitting everywhere. Okay. Now I'm not really happy with where I put that, so I'm going to put the hole further around, although there might be one here that might work. So try and pull it back towards the back more, because you don't want everything at the front, otherwise you end up with a two-dimensional tree if you have everything going to the front and sides, nothing at the back. You need to have some depth at the back of the tree. That's probably as far as I want to push that branch. It's got a fair old kink there. Olives are pretty good for bending. And they're really good, you know, over time as well. You can come back and bend them a bit more. They've proven, I quite like the olive. They're one of my favourites, if not my favourite. Very robust, tough tree, small leaves. Beautiful tree to work with. Now, I'm definitely going to have one as a leader here and let it fatten up. But I don't think I'll put much shape into it yet. And I don't want the top of the tree to go very high anyway. I only really want it to go there. Have a sort of pad out here to keep that visible, you know. I don't want to hide all that nice dead wood. So I'll have a pad out here. The rest of the tree around the place. So I think for now, apart from maybe bending one out the side to make a bit of another side branch, which I think I'll do. I'll do that. And then I reckon that's it for the tree for the day. So there we go. Bend out a side branch. Same thing, I'm just going to guide wire it. I'm not going to... Guide wires come in pretty handy. Pretty easy to do. I'm going to cut a bit of tape for you. Okay. Pass it in. How big a bit? I can rip it. There you go. You can talk. There you go. Right.
Dad, but it's just I don't want to interrupt the video and I didn't know that I could talk now.
Yeah, I'm still doing the video, bud, but it's okay. So now I'm gonna bend this side branch that I've got at the top. Will become a bit of a side branch. Just got to find this hole in the pot that I made. Proving a bit difficult. And I'm going to bend that to the front, because once you start getting up around the top of the tree, you want a lot of stuff to start going forward and stuff as well. And as you can see, it goes up and then out, which is how I think broadleafed and deciduous should be trained. The first initial movement should always be up. That's up, 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 because otherwise it just doesn't look natural for the type of tree. Alright, what have we got left to do? I think we're pretty much done. Okay, so it doesn't look much, doesn't look styled. These have got to thicken up, get fatter. I might have to move it away from the window to give you a spin of the tree in the end, because there's a lot of long branches on it. And like I say, I might even wire them all up in the air just so that it takes up a bit less room.
Daddy, can you cut that? It's like it being too hard. don't even know why tape is supposed to be hard like that.
Yep, so all done. It's been, I reckon I started on the tree at about 9 o'clock this morning. Time now is about nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, evening. So what's that, 8 hours when he got the kids from school, so maybe 7 hours all up to work on this tree today. So as you can see, there's no miracles. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, but if you're willing to put in the time, you can get a fairly good tree in the end. So I'll keep you updated with this tree, maybe do an update on it every year or so you can see how it progresses. I've got about another 4 or 5 like this that I've got to carve out and do a lot of work on, so future videos there'll be more of them.
Daddy.
On different trees, and they'll, you know, they've got a slightly different shape, so they'll need different styling, but it'll be all the same concept. No worries. Cheers for watching, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. I'll give you a quick spin of the tree on the way out, and then it's all done. And I really hope you enjoyed this long video. It's a fairly long video, but there was a lot of work to do, so anyway, cheers. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.